Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Jace with Down podcast. I'm your host, Jane, and today we're going to be talking about the Cincinnati Bengals. And can they get back to the Super Bowl? You know, this is a question that's been popping up in a lot of mediums throughout the NFL, especially with Joe Burrow coming back, healing from that injury that he suffered last year, which cost him to only play 10 games. And the team finished 9-8. So, not horrible. It could have been much worse. Jake Browning did a decent job stepping in for Joe Burrow. They were able to win some games, but ultimately just not enough to make a postseason run. So now the Bengals are going to 2024. They're healthy, lost a lot of key pieces. So we'll get into that and a lot more here on today's episode of Jace with Down. But make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter for all, just staying update on everything and notifications so you know when we post, all that good stuff. And make sure you leave a comment on thoughts about today's video and like and subscribe, like I said. I would very much appreciate it. And also, please check out all my other content. Like if you go to my channel on YouTube, got other videos about pretty much a lot of other teams here in the NFL. So if I did a video on your favorite team, you can find that there in the channel. Check it out. But again, today's video is going to be focusing on the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals went, like I said, 9-8 in the last season. Missed the playoffs. They didn't make it. Joe Burrow got injured, unfortunately. And it just wasn't a good situation for them. Now they're going into the 2024 season. They've lost a lot of key pieces. Among them, Joe Mixon, who was their leading rusher last year, over 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns. He goes to the Texans. They also lost B.J. Hill, right? There's so many other players, that were key for their team, and that's something they're going to Tyler Boyd, another one, for example, because they know the Bengals were not going to be able to pay Higgins, Boyd, and Jamar Chase, and they still have to pay Chase, and that's another thing. And Higgins, he's playing on a franchise tag, and more likely than not, he's going to be leaving next year in free agency because he tried to get traded, but the team really didn't want to trade him or anything like that, or they just didn't have any offers that really excited them as far as with the trade. So he's going to be playing one more season with the Bengals, and we'll see how that goes. But like I said, more likely than not, he will not be with this team next year. So that means your receiving core is just going to be a little bit more depleted. But for right now, so we're focusing on going to the 2024 season. I mean, if you look at the depth chart, guys, you got Jamar Chase, and they drafted Jermaine Burton out of Alabama, he's a guy that I think, this might be this maybe a little bias here. I'm an Alabama fan, but I like Burton. I think he's a good player. He's not an X receiver by any means, but he could definitely be a solid number 2 or number 3. And I think he's going to slide into that number 2 role on an offense, especially with Boyd not being there, not number 2, number 3 role, with Boyd not being there because, Higgins is going to still be that number 2 guy. And I expect to see Burton in the slot. But, however, he can play outside too, So I really am interested to see how they use him in this offense, how Zach Taylor uses him in this offense, and see, where they prioritize him on the field, as far as that's concerned. However, the backfield, you got Chase Brown at running back, also Zach Moss, the former Bill. So really going to be intriguing to see if they can create a consistent ground game. That's going to be a key for this, especially being in the AFC North in a division where these teams can run the football. You look at the Pittsburgh Steelers with Najee Harris. You look at the Baltimore Ravens with, of course, Lamar Jackson, Keaton Mitchell in the backfield, as well as Justice Hill. They got a good backfield. I mean, and looking at the Cleveland Browns, of course, Nick Chubb. So, you've got to be able to run the football in this division. I mean, of course, in the NFL in general, especially now, because teams are going to be so focused on stopping the pass because that's what a lot of teams are doing, in this league. So now all these defensive coordinators, these defenses are now focused on we got to stop the pass. So if you're able to effectively run the football like teams like the San Francisco 49ers or the Philadelphia Eagles or, the Baltimore Ravens, if you're these teams that can run the football really well or at least very efficiently, you're going to see success because you're able to drain time of possession, keep your defense off the field, keep your offense on the field, limit the other team's offense limit their chances of being on the field. That's how you beat these good teams, these good quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes, your Joe Burrows, your Tom Brady's, your Peyton Manning's, all these guys, that these really great quarterbacks. This is how you beat them, by keeping them off of the field, running the football, wasting that clock, running that clock, all that good stuff. So if the Bengals are able to efficiently run the football, I ain't say you gotta have a top 5 rushing offense, because they won't. But top 10, at least top 10, top 15, really top 10. I mean, but they're a team that's going to be passing a lot more, or rather, they always pass a lot, especially with Burrow. So that's just how the offense they run. But I would expect to see a little bit more of the ground game this year. Just if I'm a Bengals fan, I would expect to see a little bit more of that, because Brown is a really good running back. He's very electric. I like Chase Brown from what I saw of him last year. And at times he did get some touches. Still a few things for him to improve on, but otherwise, I think he's a good back. And Zach Moss is that kind of that bruiser type of running back, your bowling ball type of back. A good 1-2 punch they got there brewing in Cincinnati. So hope they utilize them correctly, the two of them, in the backfield, and create a consistent rushing game. And then hit them hard with that play action. It's going to be, like I said, it's going to be tough. I mean, like I said, you got Jamar Chase, and you want him. The key for the Bengals really is like they need everybody to stay healthy. Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, off the offensive line is now probably the best it's been since maybe 2015. Looking at it, they got a good group there with Karras and what's the guard's name? I can't remember his name. But they got a great offensive line group. Collins, so it's they got a good offensive line group. And if they're able to continue to protect Burrow and create some holes in the running game, the running game was not horrible last year, but it wasn't what it could be, so it's got to be a little bit better. Passing wise, I mean, just give your guys opportunities, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, like I say, I expect to see Jermaine Burton getting a lot of touches, and Trent Irwin as well. He's a good underrated player that I like also. So, overall, looking at the Bengals, switching to the defensive side first, but they, like I said, they lost B.J. Hill. They lost, they lost B.J. Hill for one I know for sure. Cam Sample is going to be out for the season with an injury that he just sustained in training camp, unfortunately. So it sucks to hear that. So you're down a defensive end now. Their pass rush, I mean, it's going to have to be a little bit more better, than what it's been. Trey Hendrickson, of course, we all know what he can do. But outside of that, I don't see really where they can generate a lot of other pressure, which is key in today's league. With all these passing offenses, you've got to be able to create pressure in the quarterback's face. People say, sacks is the number one thing, right, for defensive lines and stuff, or defenses in general. It's hey, you got to get a lot of sacks. You got to sack the quarterback. They judge these players by their sack amount. But really, pressure rates are important too. If you have a high pressure rate, that's just as important as a sack, because you're forcing the quarterback into these bad throws, these anticipation throws. You're forcing him to get off his clock, and which that can create turnovers for your defense, in the offensive team's possession early, say it's 3rd down, 3rd and 10, you get pressure in the quarterback's face. It's incompletion, 4th and 10, they got to punt. So things like that, and those are important things. And so, I mean, in interior wise, it's not the best as far as their defensive tackles are concerned. They just signed a couple of guys today or yesterday, but I really, the defense, the only thing that really probably concerns me is the secondary for the Bengals. I think their linebacking core with Logan Wilson and Jermaine Pratt is pretty solid. I would say just their secondary is the only thing that concerns me. They got Von Bell back. He returns after going to the Panthers for a while. He's back there at safety. They just moved Dax Hill from safety over to corner, so that should be interesting to see how they obviously think he's a very versatile player, and for what I watched, he seems like a very versatile player. He's very talented. He got a nose for the ball. He's coming up as a player. So, and then DJ Turner also at the cornerback spot. So they got some guys that are trying to make a name for themselves in that depth chart in that room, and something interesting to watch as we go throughout the preseason, seeing who's going to end up at when it's time to kick off week 1. But the main question of the video: can this team win a Super Bowl, or make it to a Super Bowl? This year, I mean, probably not. But I do believe, like, within the next 2 years, the Bengals will be back in the Super Bowl. I think that with a healthy Joe Burrow, they always have a chance. I mean, but for right now, going into this season, I don't believe they have enough to go into like Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs like they did a couple years ago when they went on their Super Bowl run. It's just not the same team. Defensively, offensively, it's not the same team. Other than Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, but that team was just something different about that team. That Cincinnati team, and I don't see that for this year's team. It's very young at certain positions, so something you want to see kind of grow. Like I said, they lost Chidobe Awuzie at cornerback. He's no longer there. That's the experience. So they've had some notable losses in free agency this year, but also some additions as well. Important thing to keep an eye on. So, but yeah, I don't believe they're a Super Bowl team this year. I think at best they can make it to the division. Well, no, okay. I'll give the Bengals. See, the AFC North, I mean, like, it's like, I mean, I really think like last year, I think all the AFC North teams can really finish above 500. And it's going to be hard to sneak into the playoffs, in that division, unless the Browns just stink it up and Watson just comes out here and he stinks up for the Browns, or God forbid, any of them have major injuries, but other than that, I mean, it's going to be really hard for the Bengals to get a good playoff spot. They got to come out and they're going to have to get after it. Early in the season, get their good, their easier games they're going to have to win. They're going to have to get after it and get some good wins, because when it comes to the division time, it's going to be tough. So, but that's all I got for you guys today on the video. Like I say, the question being, can the Bengals make it back to the Super Bowl? What do y'all think? Will Joe win one before his career is over in Cincinnati? We'll see. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you hit that subscribe button in the right corner of your screen. Follow us on all the socials, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Just stay up to date, and we'll see you next time on Jace With Down.